the second wife is actually Ramatala's daughter's friend. Shocking, right? I was on the radio on Monday evening on 5FM on 5Nights with Karabo, and so happy that she invited me to her show because I was sharing my book recs for International Women's Day, which was celebrated on the 8th of March 2025. It was very hard to curate this list because there's so many great books out there that are written by women and have narratives about women's lives, women's struggles, women's triumphs. So it was hard. It really, really was hard. But in the end, we whittled it down to 5. And the first book that I recommended on the show was So Long a Letter by Mariama Ba. So in the story is a sequence of reminiscences, some wistful, some bitter, recounted by Senegalese school teacher Ramotalai, who has recently been widowed. The letter, addressed to a friend, is a record of Ramotalai's emotional struggle for survival after her husband's abrupt decision to take a second wife. The novel is a perspective testimony to the plight of those articulate women who live in social milieu dominated by attitudes and values that deny them their proper place. And the second wife is actually Ramotalai's daughter's friend. Shocking, right? And they have 13 kids. So for me, this book was I enjoyed reading this book because it's a small book, but it packs so much. And it's sad that the narrative in here, even though this book was written in 1971, in 2025, some women still face the same issues. So if you find this at your local bookshop, So Long a Letter by Mariama Ba, I think it's an African classic. It's lauded as one of the first pieces of feminist literature from Africa. You definitely need to add this to your library. And then I followed it up with, and I took it non-fiction. And I think another classic from South Africa is Eyebags and Dimples by Bonnie Henna. I remember when this book came out, I really wanted to read it. But I only read it within the last couple of years. And this book was interesting to me because Bonnie is somebody that we grew up watching on TV. And during those times, she was an it girl, but there wasn't social media. You couldn't see her life on Instagram. So it was always interesting. It was interesting to read about her life during those times. Do you remember Techniques? She was on it. And so in this, she details her life growing up in the limelight and her quest to be a movie star. But this was the first South African book by a Black author that highlighted mental health. And that is what made me choose this book, because I really think that mental health is something that is still not spoken about enough. And so here she really explored her mother-daughter relationship as well as her mother's relationship with her grandmother. And she speaks a lot about depression. So Eyebags and Dimples is still being reprinted to this day. I think it's a South African classic. Definitely add this one to your shelf as well. And then I thought, let's take it to the diaspora. And I chose Queen Sugar by Natalie Baszile. And I chose this because I watched the TV series, and when I found out that it's actually a book, I went searching high and low for this book. I really enjoyed reading this. This is about Charlie Bordelon. An African-American single mother unexpectedly inherits 800 acres of sugarcane land. She and her 11-year-old daughter say goodbye to the smog and sprawl of Los Angeles and head to the tropical expanse of Louisiana. She soon learns, however, that cane farming is always going to be a white man's business. As the sweltering summer unfolds, Charlie struggles to balance the overwhelming challenges of a farm in decline with the demands of family and the startling desires of her own heart. And this book, if you read this and you watch the TV series, you will see that they always change things when they translate a book for the screen. Like Charlie's daughter here is a girl, but in the TV series, it's a son, and then they also added an extra sibling on the TV series. However, even if you've watched the TV series, I still encourage you to read this book. I really, really enjoyed it. And then I thought, what else can I include on this list? What else can I pick? And I chose The Secret Lives of Baba Segi's Wives because this is one of probably the best books that I've read because of the writing. So the writing here is so poetic, it's so lyrical. And for me, if you're an author and you write like that, you've got my attention. It doesn't take a lot. Don't overdo it. Don't be like open water. Just if your level of prose and poetry is like this book, I am interested. I am within the book. And so the synopsis of this book says, to the dismay of her mother, Bolanle marries into a polygamous home and becomes the fourth wife of Baba Segi. She is a university graduate and as such highly prized by her new husband. But even graduates must produce children, and her husband's persistent belly ache is a sign that things are not as they should be. Bolanle only wants a quiet life, but the other wives disapprove of her and fear she may unlock their well-guarded secret. Lola Shoneyin weaves a witty, exuberant story of determined women and big surprises in this beloved modern classic. This book is worth every penny that you would spend, every dollar that you would spend on it. And the secret at the end was just, this book was very, very funny. Definitely a 10 out of 5 read. This needs to be at the top of the list. One thing that I'm very intentional about on my platform is that I really want to unearth and promote lesser known authors who write good books. And one of those was Rosamund Kendal, and the book that I read by her was the Angina Monologues. I don't know where my copy is, but here is a cover of the book that I'm talking about. And in this book, it talks about 3 medical interns from vastly different backgrounds are sent to a rural KZN hospital where gang assassination and rogue snakes are facts of life, and AIDS simply does not exist. Pampered, spoiled Rachel struggles to establish her independence and learns to love across the cultural divide. Conservative, beautiful Seema struggles to end a relationship that has become increasingly abusive. And street-savvy Nomsa finally learns to accept a past she has spent a lifetime denying. This is a story of 3 women finding courage, love, and compassion in the most unlikely places. Like its best-selling predecessor, the Kama Sutra, the Angina Monologues brings readers face-to-face with what it takes to be a woman doctor in the new South Africa without losing your soul. I think this book is one that you would enjoy if you enjoyed Coconut, because it really tells the story of the coming of age story of the born free generation and how they need to navigate and find themselves in this new reality of South Africa. So if you find this book, that is another one that I suggest you need to add to your shelf. And then Karabo was like, give me a bonus, just add one more. I swear if we had enough time, I probably could have told her about 15 or 20 books, I don't know. The last one that I added to the list was Tomorrow I Become a Woman, and this is Uju's story. This book has my heart, and I knew before I bought it that I was going to enjoy this book. Let me read the synopsis. When Gozi and Obianuju meet in August 1978, it is nothing short of fate. He is the perfect man, charismatic, handsome, Christian, and most importantly, Igbo. He reminds her of her beloved uncle Ikena, her mother's brother who disappeared fighting in the civil war that devastated Nigeria less than a decade before. It is why when Gozi asks her to marry him within months of meeting, she says yes, despite her lingering and uncertain feelings for Akin, a man her mother would never accept, as his tribe fought on the other side of the war. Akin makes her feel heard, understood, intelligent. Gozi makes her heart flutter. For Uju, the daughter her mother never wanted, marriage would mean the attainment of that long elusive state of womanhood, and something else she has desired all her life, her mother's approval. All will be well. He is the perfect match. The country will soon be democratic again, and the economy is growing, or so she thinks. Loosely based on the real stories of real women known to the author, Tomorrow I Become a Woman follows a complex relationship between mother and daughter as they grapple to come to terms with tremendous loss. This powerful debut by Aiwanose Odafen is a sensitive exploration of a woman's struggle to meet societal and cultural expectations within the confines of a difficult marriage. It is also a tribute to female friendship and a love story that spans 2 decades and continents against a backdrop of political turmoil in a fast-changing world. This was a triumph of a debut. I absolutely enjoyed this. I'm not going to say more. The synopsis catches it all, and what I can say is it's a 10 out of 5 book. The Nigerian authors, they get me. Like, they write. I really enjoy their writing. So this are the books that I would recommend for International Women's Day, because they really touch on women's issues and womanhood. Let me know in the comments what other books you would add to this list. I'm really looking forward to getting book recs and seeing what I should be reading, of which I have not read yet.